So let's get into, I got a little new graphic here. Let's get into the headlines tonight. Headlines around America. All right. So the first case that we're going to talk about, one of the new cases that have been popping up, is this case of Mackenzie Shirilla. And it's been basically called in the headlines, basically hell on wheels. And I get a little bit of a synopsis here of what happened, and then we're going to go to a video. So in Cleveland, Ohio, a young woman named Mackenzie Shirilla has been found guilty by a judge of causing the deaths of her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. And if you haven't seen the crash video of this, it was at excessive speeds of 100 miles an hour. You can seek it out. I'm probably not going to be able to play it here for you all tonight, but you can seek that video out and check it out. It is completely horrifying. The incident occurred when she was 17 years old, and she crashed her car into a building at a speed of 100 miles an hour, resulting in the fatalities of Russo and Flanagan. The judge's decision to carry on the judge's decision carries an automatic life sentence without a possibility of parole until Shirilla, now 19, has spent 15 years in prison. That trial has conducted over 4 days without a jury, and the judge ruled that Shirilla had a deliberate intention in her actions, stating that she had a mission and she executed it with precision. The crash took place in July of the previous year at a business park in Strongsville, Idaho. Surveillance video and a car computer data showed that Shirilla accelerated her car at 100 miles per hour down a street before losing control and crashing into a building. Now, when I first heard this, I was reading the story and writing my synopsis about it. I said, well, that doesn't sound like anything out of the usual. Yeah, they're obviously driving at a high rate of speed. They're kids. We know that kids have known to do this stuff. But as I read more about this and found out about it, that she actually went to that area days before and scouted out this area. So this was done with some malicious intent. So both victims died, and Shirilla was found trapped in the driver's seat with her foot stuck to the accelerator. The judge highlighted the significance of the final moments captured on video, which displayed Shirilla's purpose actions leading up to the crash. Evidence presented during the trial indicated that Shirilla, Russo, and Flanagan had smoked marijuana the night before the incident, while Shirilla had THC in her blood above the legal limit for driving in Ohio. I keep saying Idaho because I'm so stuck on Idaho. And believe me, they're not going to solve that case. Not yet. What everybody's streaming about, come on, dudes. You're not going to find any new clues. Believe me. Ohio law authorities decided not to charge her with driving under the influence. Evidence from her cell phone showed Shirilla drove near the business park a few days before the crash. Prosecutors seized statements Shirilla made weeks before the crash, including a video showing her and Russo arguing, in which Shirilla threatened to key her boyfriend's car. As she recovered in the hospital after the crash, doctors noted that Shirilla expressed grief, guilt, and shame about the accident. Prosecutors painted those statements as evidence that Shirilla had a conscience of guilt. Instead, they pursued murder charges based on a video evidence that Shirilla and Russo arguing, as such statements from Shirilla expressing guilt, remorse after the crash. Prosecutors argued that these statements indicated her awareness and wrongdoing were used to support the theory that she intentionally caused the crash. Shirilla's defense attorney, Jim McDowell, countered the murder charges by claiming that evidence had insufficient to prove that Shirilla intentionally crashed the car. He argued that she might have lost control of the vehicle while driving recklessly, which is a common behavior among teenagers. Shirilla, emotional and tearful, was placed in handcuffs following the guilty verdict. Her supporters also expressed their emotions during the hearing, shouting their love for her as she was led out of the courtroom. The judge's decision to convict her of murder was based on belief that she had cleared intentions in purpose in crashing in the fatal crash. So there's a lot of things that I think that could be could come up on an appeal. The judge is stating intent, and I think this was a trial by a judge. The judge cited intent. The judge sentenced her, but I think that there could be some things on appeal. Now, they have to prove the intent. Now, it looks like there is enough evidence there to prove intent, but this could be something that is speculated on appeal, of course. But what we're going to do here is go to the courtroom sentencing. I have the video here that I'm going to pull up, and we'll play through that and hear the judge sentencing Mackenzie Shirilla in this case.
This trial is a culmination of decisions made by one person, the defendant. Those decisions have forever altered the futures of 3 families, and of you also, Mackenzie. And your decisions forever robbed Dominic and Tavion of the futures that they had before them. If there is one thing that can be taken away from this case, as painful as it is this. Every decision we make is important. Every action we make is important. Regardless of whether the decision is a good one or a bad one, or the actions are good or not, the result is the same. The consequences ripple through time and affect many more people than one might think at the time of the decision. In criminal cases, the state carries the greatest burden under our law, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As I previously stated, I considered all the evidence presented. And at this point, I would like to comment specifically on Exhibit 802, the crash video. This is the type of evidence you can never unsee. You can never forget the visual or audio of this exhibit. It is chilling and tragic. As you review that exhibit, you know that you are watching the oncoming deaths of 2 people, and there is nothing that will stop it. The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant. She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. Mackenzie alone made the decision to drive her car, to drive an obscure route, a route she visited a few days before, and a route not routinely taken by her. Mackenzie alone chose the time to make the drive early in the morning, when any reasonable person would expect that few people would be nearby to witness it or offer life-saving assistance. She made these decisions despite knowing, as any reasonable person would, that her mission of death could have involved others, not even in the car with her, other people, other cars, pedestrians. She had a mission, and she executed it with precision. The mission was death. Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor and demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles.
And the judge doesn't seem like there's any mercy right now. I'm all curious about you all in the chat. Do you think that Mackenzie is guilty? If you think that she's guilty, put a 1 in the chat. If you think she's not guilty, put a 2 in the chat. I'd be curious to see how you side on this case. All right, let's keep playing through the courtroom video.
She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day, and she alone made that decision for Dominic and Davion, and she continuously acted in a manner to achieve her purpose. Whether or not she intended to also kill herself is a matter of speculation and have no relevance to the weighing of the evidence in this case. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates that Mackenzie Shirilla acted purposely and intentionally in the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, and her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. court renders the following verdicts. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count 1. Count 2. The court, having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Count 3, murder. The court, having had count 3 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02B, as charged in count 3. Count 4, murder. The court, having had count 4 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02B, is charged in count 4. Count 5, felonious assault. The court, having had count 5 tried to it.
The judge is throwing the book at this girl, literally throwing the book in the kitchen sink at her. Wow.
Pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11 of the Revised Code, is charged in count 5 of the indictment.
Yeah, dude. I thought
Count 6, felonious assault.
And that could be, listen, that could be an order by the judge, knowing that she's trying to set the example here, that this type of thing will not happen in their state. Look, it's tough because you look at her and she's so young. I think she's 19 years old. You want to feel bad, because that was the first thing I looked at. The first thing I looked at her, I was like, oh my God, she's so tiny and she's so young. But listen, young people make mistakes as well too. And this is going to be something that will be handled on appeal. I don't know how far she's going to get, but they may work out something where it reduces her sentence. Yeah, she was 17 when it happened, but she's actually 19 now. So, again, this is probably something that's going to go to appeal. They may have some type of thing where they lighten her sentence. I don't know how I feel about it. She was driving the car. She had control of the car. The thing that is very, very telling to me is that she was seen on video there in that area days before this all happened. So to me, it seemed like it was planned. If you think it was planned, give me a 1 in the chat and give me a 2 in the chat if you don't think it was planned. I'd love to hear what you all think. I'd love to see what you all think.
The court, having had count 6 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A2, is charged in count 6. Count 7, felonious assault. Court, having had count 7 tried to
Typical
it
response
pursuant to
from
waiver,
Tsunami.
finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla,
Yeah, she got
guilty
charged
of
as an adult.
felonious
She's
assault,
19.
to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A1, as charged in count 7. Count 8, felonious assault. The court, having had count 8 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A2, as charged in count 8. Count 9, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having had count 9 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.06A2A, is charged in count 9. Count 10, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having had count 10 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.06A2A, is charged in count 10.
Look at her attorney.
Count 11,
Oh, shit.
drug possession. The court, having had count 11 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of drug possession in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2925.11A, as charged in
She's in a
count
lot of
11.
trouble.
Count 12, possessing criminal tools. The court, having had count 12 tried to have pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of possessing criminal tools.
So there had been a report that a couple of days before this incident, she had broke into a church and stole some stuff. And I think that's probably what the possession of the theft tools are. You can read about it, you know, if you look this case up, but I just found this completely fascinating as something that, you know, has not been talked about at all. And I wanted to bring it to light to all of you and, you know, this new series that I'm trying here on the show.
Violation of Ohio
I
Revised
hope you
Code
all
Section
appreciate it.
2923.24A is charged in count 12. The court, having had count 12 tried to have pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of possessing criminal tools, and further finds the defendant did intend to use a substance, device, instrument, or article, to wit, a digital scale, to commit the offense of felony. Sentencing will be 1 week from today, August 21st at 1 p.m. If any party wishes to file a sentencing memorandum, it is to be filed by 4 p.m. on Thursday, August 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you, baby.
I love you.
I'm in a lot of trouble.
Everybody,
That's it. That is Mackenzie Shirilla, and we'll follow up on that. We'll keep following up on that. So mind your business. Yeah, thank you, Brian. I haven't heard of all this. I haven't heard of this case. Yeah, you know, I just wanted to try out kind of this variety show. I mean, I haven't seen anybody doing this. They usually just do like a live stream and they just do Idaho for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Believe me, you're not going to solve that case. There's nothing new to really talk about in it. There's nothing to go back and look at. That's why I've kind of like peeled back on it. And you can see it. You can see it tonight. Idaho's not in the title, so people don't want to watch. But I'm telling you, you're missing out on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of cases out there, and you know, there's a lot of things to report. So it's all good. We'll move on with the show here. So our old buddy, Alec Murdaugh, back in the news here. And let's see, we have a report. Alec Murdaugh, an article from OK True Crime reports that Alec Murdaugh devised an intricate scheme to manipulate the court into believing his innocence in a brutal murder of his wife, Maggie, and their youngest son, Paul. The book, titled Tangle Vines, Power, Privilege, and Murdaugh Family Murders by Josh Gallant, uncovers supposed evidence indicated that the convicted murderer collaborated with his surviving son, Buster, to orchestrate a fake birthday celebration for Paul from prison almost a year after Paul's death. The author claims to have obtained this information from approximately 200 phone calls accessed through the Freedom of Information request by a reporter friend. In these phone conversations, Buster allegedly mentioned that friends in Charleston were attending the event, portraying it as a commemoration. I got it. Commemoration. Let me get this. Lakota with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. She says, I'm loving this, Brian. Well, it's going to take a little while to catch on, but I think that we could do, you know, a week, you know, 1 week once a week and try this new true crime headline. I'm liking it so far too. Feels more like a newscast. It's pretty cool. But thank you so much for the $19.99 super chat. I appreciate that. So Alex's response reportedly showed his approval, inquiring about the list of attendees. Buster informed him that the event was widely known due to a social media post. Alongside this alleged birthday memorial, Alec was said to have arranged for flowers to be placed at Maggie's grave on Mother's Day, a gesture portrayed by the author as an attempt to feign care for his deceased family members and invoke sympathy while concealing his involvement in their deaths. The article recalls that Alec Murdaugh was found guilty by an unanimous jury decision for killing his wife and son and was subsequently sentenced to life to prison. The judge at the hearing referenced the potential influence of opioid use in his actions and order consecutive life sentences for both murders. Let's look at a clip here from Lauren Crime Network, and we will hear about this. All right, here is the author of that book.
This is the 25th true crime book I've done over 25 years. And I can honestly say that I've never written about anybody as dark and sociopathic as Alex Murdaugh.
A new book about Alec Murdaugh and his family's legacy in South Carolina's Low Country has some interesting information about birthday parties thrown from jail and family secrets swept under the rug. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. Alec Murdaugh is serving 2 consecutive life sentences in a South Carolina prison for the June 2021 murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul. Murdaugh is going to appeal his conviction and maintains he's not guilty of the murders.
I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never hurt my son Paul.
Murdaugh still faces a number of charges related to financial crimes. Right? He admitted during his double murder trial to stealing millions from his clients and his law firm.
Well, the jury's heard about testimony of you stealing client funds. Did you do that?
I did.
Did you steal or divert that Ferris fee away from the law firm?
I did.
How did you get in such a financial predicament that led you to steal money that wasn't yours?
No, I'm not quite sure how I let myself get where I got, but it came from, I battled that addiction for so many years. I was spending so much money on pills.
A number of documentaries have been made about the Murdaugh case. Now a new book is out by John Glatt. It's called Tangled Vines, Power, Privilege, and the Murdaugh Family Murders. Glatt said he immersed himself in low country culture by visiting Hampton County, the Murdaugh seat of power, for a century.
Right, I think the Murdaughs have been they've had their hands in the pie for more than a century, in fact. I mean, Buster Murdaugh, in the 50s, that's Alex's grandfather, was in fact indicted for his role in bootlegging around there, illegal whiskey stills, tipping off the bootleggers before the police raid so they could sort of hide it and everything. And he was indicted. He was found not guilty, but even the judge there was very, very suspicious and thought he was kind of a blemish on legal system in South Carolina and told him that. But they were very, very popular, the Murdaughs. They were kind of natural politicians. They knew how to get on with everybody, and they were people persons. So that's how they got away with it for so long, because they would get reelected with, in a landslide every time there was a new election for solicitors. And I mean, they actually represented 5 counties in the Low Country, from Hampton to Beaufort, a huge swath of area. In fact, I think it's one of the biggest, power bases in South Carolina.
So let me do this. And I was asking this in the previous case. Do you think that Alec Murdaugh is guilty? If you think he's guilty, type a 1 in the chat. If you think he's not guilty, type a 2. I'd love to see what you all think in the chat.
Carolina, and they basically ran it like a fiefdom, for over 100 years. So they were not just judiciary, they were law and order, they were the politicians, they really ran everything, and they could get away with murder, as I was told on more than one occasion by people.
Did you run into people who actually respected and liked the family? And people who said nice things? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, because they were very, very good to people. I mean, especially in Hampton, there's a thing called the Hampton juries, which were, feared by anybody doing civil lawsuits in Low Country, because basically wherever you were in South Carolina, wherever the accident took place, if the company like Ford or a train company had a presence in Hampton County, it could be tried there. So it would go to Hampton counties, who the Murdaughs kind of were friendly with. They knew everybody in Hampton, and they would kind of give them presents at Christmas and this. And if somebody had an illness in the family, the Murdaughs would be around there to help. So these jurors would award huge kind of $1 million, things in lawsuits. And that was a real thing. And that's how their civil practice, PMPD, became so successful. So people really liked the Murdaughs. They saw them as benefactors. In fact, and a lot of people I said, I spoke to had personal stories about how they'd been helped by the Murdaughs.
Interesting.
Mm.
So so they have this stranglehold and all this power, but at the same time, they're viewed as great benefactors to the community. So it seems like kind of a way to almost maintain power, if you would.
Absolutely. And it worked for a very, very long time, I think, through all the generations. And it was only because of Alex Murdaugh and he was a bit too open with how successful he was. I mean, his previous generations have been very quiet about, what they own. They had normal cars. They didn't kind of boast about everything they had. But Alex and Maggie, who was really big on social media, they started posting about their foreign trips in private planes and everything they did. And I think that kind of was the beginning of the end, Kind of, they got too big for their boots, I think.
Glatt's research led him to believe that Alec and Maggie Murdaugh were more willing to show off their wealth than other members of the family. Glatt also believes the boat crash that killed Mallory Beach was the beginning of the end for Alec Murdaugh. Paul Murdaugh was charged with driving the boat while drunk, causing Mallory's death and injuring others.
That's where it started, with the boat crash in 2019. I mean, Paul was very, very drunk. He was streaming a lot of it on Snapchat and everything. And unfortunately, he killed Mallory Beach. And I think Mallory Beach's family were concerned.
That boat case settled last month in civil court with insurers for Parker's Kitchen, the convenience store where Paul Murdaugh bought alcohol with a fake ID, agreeing to pay the Beach family $15 million. The others who were injured will get $1 million, so that chapter is closed. In writing the book, Glatt says he learned some other things about the family, including a birthday party Alec Murdaugh planned for Paul, the son he was accused of killing in April of 2022, before his double murder trial.
Well, this was revealed in Freedom of Information Act phone calls, which I got access to, and I went through about over 200 of them methodically. And I think April 14th, 2022, which was before he was actually, indicted for the murder of Paul and Maggie, he was talking to Buster, and they'd been working through a third party to arrange a 23rd birthday party for Paul at the Shem Creek Bar in Charleston Harbor. And Alex was asking him how it was going, and Buster said that, everyone was being invited. It was getting a lot of airing on social media, and Alex was very happy because he wanted to celebrate Paul's birthday, which, I just think this was another way of showing that he was innocent, by throwing a party for his son, which he was later, found guilty of murdering.
I find it odd, and I've never lost a child, so I don't know how I would react to want to throw a birthday party for my son who had been murdered.
Yeah, I think this was before the trial, obviously, and he hadn't been arrested for murder, but he was trying to show that, he was the grieving father looking after, the welfare of Paul on his 23rd birthday. And also that Mother's Day, he made a big point of asking Buster and his sister-in-law to prod Buster into putting flowers on Maggie's grave. And he kept asking in repeated phone calls whether that had been done. So he was trying to give the air of the caring father, and widower, when in fact, jury found him guilty of killing Maggie and Paul later.
Glatt said he also found out about an incident involving Paul and a wild party at a rental home.
I heard from a very close friend of the person that rented a house to Paul Murdaugh and various friends a few summers before he died. They took over a summer house, which was actually very close to Maggie's Beaufort house, but they wanted their own house. And they methodically trashed it, and they would throw tomato ketchup over everything, beer, and they get very drunken brawls, and they were streaming everything on Snapchat. And eventually, when the owners came, they were horrified because they caused thousands of dollars worth of damage. And then when they approached Alex and the other fathers, Alex made it good, paid thousands to hush it up because he didn't want the bad publicity.
Finally, Glatt's response was revealing when I asked this question.
Is this one of the strangest stories you've covered?
It's one of the
in your-
strangest
in your
stories I
years?
covered.
Absolutely. It's the 25th true crime book I've done over
Absolutely.
25 years. And I can honestly say that I've never written about anybody as dark and sociopathic as Alex
He's
Murdaugh.
got one hell of a vinyl collection, though. He's got some really nice speakers, too. Good stuff.
I mean, he just defies anything, just the way he has no total zero empathy with anybody. And he can look you in the face and steal the shirt off your back, literally, which is what he did to his clients. He's so cold and whatever. But I think at the trial, the high point of the trial for me and probably everyone else was when Alex took the stand against the advice of his lawyers and actually thought that he could con the jury into finding him not guilty or getting a hung jury, which he'd done, he'd been good in with jurors, obviously, to get these successful payouts in the civil case. But to see him do it, in real life and then get found out by the jurors who took 3 hours to find him guilty, I think was, amazing.
All right. That's a little bit of an update on Alec Murdaugh. So we're going to go to our third story tonight in this new series of true crime updates, the headlines across America. So from the New York Post, it's going to report this tragic story out of Alaska. So the New York Post reports this tragic case of a U.S. Army soldier named Zarrius Hildabrand in Alaska who was accused of killing his newlywed wife, Sierra Hildabrand. Zarrius has been charged with several serious offenses, including first-degree murder and tampering with evidence, following the discovery of Sierra's body in a storm drain near the Anchorage apartment. Jesus. The incident began when Zarrius reported Sierra missing on August 7th, stating that she had disappeared after they had celebrated his birthday with friends. However, her body was found on August 10th with a gunshot wound to the left temple. During the time she was reported missing, Zarrius had taken to Facebook to share missing posters and appeal for information about her whereabouts, despite allegedly knowing she was dead. Zarrius accused of pretending to search for Sierra along her distraught mother, Bethany Barney, even though she was aware of her death. Even though he was aware of her death, he intentionally provided conflicting information to police about the events leading up to Sierra's disappearance, including her leaving for work on the day in question. Suspicion arose when his friends contracted his account, indicating that Sierra had no plans to return to work that day. As the investigation progressed, police discovered discrepancies in Zarrius' statements and actions. They found 2 pistols in his apartment, one of which was missing a bullet, and noticed unusual purchases, including marinara sauce, cleaning supplies, and a garbage can. Okay. The subsequent search warrant revealed blood-soaked bedding, evidence of attempt to clean the apartment, and Sierra's body concealed in a storm drain. That's horrifying. Zarrius appeared in court and was assigned a public defender, being held on $500,000 bond. There should be no bond. There should be no bond for people like this. Especially when you're in the military and you've served our country and you allegedly commit murder. There should be no bond. Sierra's family expressed their shock and grief over the loss of their loved ones, redirecting a GoFundMe campaign from search efforts to cover for funeral expenses and reparations of her remains. The Anchorage Police Department has not yet provided a statement regarding Zarrius's arrest. So let's hear from the Law and Crime Network. I got a video here I'm going to pull up. Gives you a little bit more details in this case. Let's play.
She was just like the most precious little thing. So strong,
Hang on
beautiful.
1 second. I am muted. what's going on.
She was just like the most precious little thing. So strong and beautiful and going somewhere with her life.
A mother grieving after her 21-year-old daughter is murdered. Now the man her daughter married, an Army soldier, is charged with the crime. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. Zarrius Hildabrand had been married for just 7 months to Zarrius Hildabrand. They were newlyweds. She moved from Utah to Anchorage, Alaska, in part to be with her husband and to accomplish her dream of becoming a nurse. Zarrius was a medic in the Alaska National Guard. Zarrius was in the Army. Last week, police found Zarrius' body in a storm drain. She'd been shot in the head. The search for Zarrius started on August 7th. Anchorage police took a missing persons report from Zarrius, who said Zarrius left the home without her cell phone, but took her purse. 3 days later, police took Zarrius Hildabrand into custody and charged him with murder 1 and murder 2, along with tampering with evidence in Zarrius' death. A criminal complaint said Zarrius reported Zarrius missing more than a day after they had been out with friends to celebrate his birthday. Police said when they interviewed Zarrius the next day at the couple's apartment, he had 2 pistols on the table and wouldn't allow them to look underneath the mattress of their bed because there might be some embarrassing things used during sex underneath. Police later found blood sloped through that mattress and evidence of a cleanup in the bathroom. I spoke with Zarrius' mother, Meredith Barney, about how she found out her daughter was missing.
Zarrius called me Monday night from her cell phone and told me that he had just placed a missing persons report with the police.
How did he sound? Did he sound like he usually does to you, or did you have any? I mean, I can't imagine as a mom getting that call. You're like, what? My daughter is missing, but did he sound normal to you?
No, he didn't sound normal, but I wouldn't expect him to sound normal if his wife was missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but he did sound very like rehearsed. I picked up on that in a second when he was talking.
Meredith Barney boarded a plane for Alaska to help search for her daughter. I asked her whether she saw any red flags from Zarrius Hildabrand once she arrived.
It was kind of a mixed bag, actually, because like I asked for her phone and he gave me her phone, like, no question. Here you go, take it. Can I have her computer? He gave it to me. But when we went out searching, I think it was Tuesday. I honestly don't know. One night we went out searching the woods behind her house with his Army team. I don't know what they're called. And he was acting super suspicious during that. Like, it felt like he was trying to like lead us, me and my sister, different places, because we kind of broke away from the groups that the Army had. But other than that, like, it was very like, here's her phone, here's her computer. So it was like a real mixed bag where like my initial gut instinct was, this is not okay. I thought that from the second I got the phone call. I didn't have any evidence or proof or anything. So I was just trying to listen to my gut and at the same time, like, not push him away in case he did do it. You know what I mean?
So that crossed your mind. You think kind of keep your friends close and your enemies closer if he is your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly,
What
Crystal.
if I need to try to get information?
Exactly.
Last Friday, Meredith Barney learned that Zarrius had been murdered. Her body found in a storm drain.
And I apologize. I pronounced her name incorrectly. Soraya. I said Sierra. I apologize about that. So I'm gonna make that correction.
Not far from a 96-gallon trash can that had blood in it. Police said Zarrius Hildabrand bought the trash can and a mop at a hardware store.
What do you want people to know about Zarrius? What do you? I mean, she was a medic. It's very impressive, in the National Guard. So what do you want people to know about her?
I just want people to know that she just like touched so many people's lives.
Exactly,
And like, I
Tsunami.
didn't even have an idea of it until after this, how many people have reached out to me and told me stories and sent me pictures. And like, she was just so loved, and she just loved so many people. I mean, and I think that that is important. I mean, I don't know how else to describe her. She was just like the most precious little thing. So strong and beautiful and going somewhere with her life.
Zarrius and Soraya had been married for just 7 months. Meredith Barney said she never saw anything that concerned her.
I never witnessed anything that concerned me, but
Interesting.
it was just normal, two kids moving in together for the first time. Normal stuff that she talked to me about, like, how do I get him to help me with the chores, or just normal, very typical newlywed, brand new people living together stuff.
Barney says her daughter was very
Have a good
proud
night,
of her
Victorine.
Asian heritage. Barney says Soraya's father was Mongolian, and she had some tattoos that celebrated that part of her ancestry. She also had big dreams and took steps to plan for her future so she wouldn't have to go into debt, as many college students do, to achieve their goals.
Did Soraya always want to join the military? I mean, is this something she wanted to make, a lifelong career out of, or what did she want to do with her life?
No, she was just so smart, because she was like, I'm going to join the National Guard so that I can pay for my college. I can get the skills to become a nurse quicker, and I can get college credit and have it paid for. Like, she made that decision all on her own. Like, that's how smart and like forward thinking and everything she was. It was just, all right, you do you. Like, that's a big decision, and I support you no matter what.
It is very smart. And did she want to go to Alaska, or did she want to stay living where she was initially living? Or,
No,
Alaska, that's a big
is-
move,
She wanted to go to Alaska because in Utah, there's like a 2-year waiting time to be able to get into the job she wanted in the military. If she moved to Alaska, she could immediately get into that job and start getting credits and doing she would just get to jump in a lot sooner. So again, this is one of those things that she's so smart and figured out by talking to her commanders and doing all of that. And she's like, yeah, I'm going. I want to get this done.
That is smart. Meredith, where do you go from here? I know you're going to be leaving Alaska soon. Unfortunately, you'll probably have to go back to Alaska for court dates and things like that. So, what do you do now?
Now we celebrate her. We do the things that we knew that she would want us to do, and just try to move forward.
Awful.
Without her.
Now Soraya's family is left to do just that, celebrate her life and her spirit. The family had started a GoFundMe page to help them pay.
Yeah, if anybody wants to donate to that, I'm going to put the link here. I'm going to make a small donation after the show to help them in honor of LTL podcast. So I'm going to help them out, throw something up on the page, give them a little bit of money to help them out. So if anybody wants to support Soraya, the GoFundMe link there is posted. You can go over there and make a donation, hopefully help that family out. They're very, very close to reaching their goal. Only about 15,000 more, 16,000 more should get them right to their goal. So let's go over there, and if we can, even $5, something to help out. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. The only thing though is that there's no conviction and they still have a case to go through. So, they can't really front up that money. So they have to wait until the case plays out in court. So it's very gorgeous there. Absolutely, Carrie. Thank you for if anybody can help out, that would be great. Okay, let's finish this up, and then we're going to go to the last case on my show this evening. Are you enjoying this kind of true crime cases across America segment here on the show? If you're enjoying it, throw a 1 in the chat. And I'm going to try to do these once a week. If I get some good response on this, we'll try this out. I thought I would mix things up, give a little different flavor here on the channel, and just touch on some crime stories that are going across America. Actually, this video is almost over anyway, so I'm just going to shut that down and we'll go on to the next case here. So we're going to get into the weird and wacky world of Thomas Randolph. Thomas Randolph. Thank you. I see a lot of 1s. I love this. I hope this segment will catch on. I think it's something different that no one is doing. And I like the little video that I put together at the beginning too. Everybody's loving it. Great. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. Crystal says, I'm loving it. Brenda loves it as well too. Great. Okay. So we're going to get on to finish this up. Thomas Randolph. I'm going to read a little bit about what's going on in that specific case. And then we're going to pull up our last video from the Law and Crime Network. Okay. From 8 New Now reports of trial involving Thomas Randolph, dubbed the Black Widower, in the Clarks County 8th Judicial District Court in Las Vegas. Randolph is facing charges of murder and conspiracy for the 2008 deaths of his wife, Sharon Randolph, and their perpetrated handyman. Prosecutors allege that Randolph orchestrated a plan to murder Sharon and their handyman in order to collect a substantial insurance claim. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Randolph's account of the events doesn't align and that the evidence points to his involvement in the deaths. Lost some place here. Sorry. They contended that he was initially brought to his wife's home early that night of the incident, leading to her discovery of the handyman robbing their house. They further asserted that Randolph shot both Sharon and the handyman to cover up the scheme. The article mentions that Randolph had previously been convicted in 2017 on similar charges, but the Nevada Supreme Court ordered a retrial due to improper evidence being presented in the first trial. The initial trial includes details about the 1986 death of Randolph's second wife, in which the Supreme Court ruled should not have been part of the proceedings. In this trial, Sharon's daughter, Colleen Biner, provided testimony and referred to Randolph as a career predator and a liar. She expressed her strong dislike and lack of trust in him, asserting that he had sinister intentions when he married her mother. Biner highlighted Randolph's history of marriages, with 4 of his 6 wives having died under questionable circumstances. The trial is expected to last about 3 weeks, and the prosecutor is aiming to prove Randolph's guilt in the orchestrating of the murders to collect insurance money. All right, let's pull up the video and watch this from the Law and Crime Network. If I can get it to play. Buffing. All right. Love when a plane.
Plenty of them. They know this. They say 4 of 6 wives died suspiciously. Well, if cancer's suspicious,
I don't know, Jessica.
If
got a long way to go. If it doesn't say Idaho, they don't want to watch. And frankly, I am burnt out on it. I'm just burnt out on that case. Gotta try some new things here. I hope everybody enjoys this on the replay of this new segment of True Crime Updates. We're going to try to do these once a week. I'm actually enjoying it. It's a nice way to look at some high-profile cases that are not being profiled out there across America. If you're enjoying this and you're watching right now, you can chat here on the right-hand side. If not, when this post, go down there in the comment section and hit hashtag replay. I'd love to hear that you're liking this segment. All right, let's play this out. About a 27-minute video. I think this is going to take us to the end of the show. I appreciate everybody being here. We'll stop and do some commentary during the video. All right.
dying of a botched surgery, a heart defect, I guess I'll kill her. But I didn't give him any of that.
6 wives, 4 deaths, and an upcoming 3rd murder trial. It's
Very
the
strange
bizarre story
individual.
of Thomas Randolph. As we analyze what we know so far in this case, we preview what's ahead with journalist Melissa McCarty, who's been following the Randolph saga for 8 years and has actually recently spoken with the accused killer. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey there, everybody. I want to talk to you right now about a really exciting...
I'm going to fast forward this because this is a commercial and I'm not sponsored by this podcast. All right, let's go to Thomas Randolph.
The Nevada retrial of Thomas Randolph, the man accused of not only murdering his wife, Sharon Randolph, but also Michael Miller, the man he allegedly hired to kill his wife. And when I say wife, Sharon Randolph was Thomas's 6th wife, and 4 of his previous wives are dead. So it's time to do a deep dive on everything we know so far about this man, and there is a lot. Now, as I talk about Mr. Randolph, I'm going to play you some snippets of interviews that he did with my Sidebar co-host, Anjanette Levy, a few years back. And I will tell you, he is a colorful guy, to say the least.
I'm a smart man. I don't lie. There's no upside to lying. I was a child, a teenager in the 60s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He cheats on his wife. Does that make him guilty of murder? No, it makes him. He says and talks about sex, and he has threesomes, and his wives and his girlfriends, they're all 10, 15 years, back in the days, 10, 15 years younger than him. They have no pubic hair, and they have tattoos on the lip of their with my name in it or my initials in it. Does that make him guilty? No, it makes, apparently his wives and his girlfriends really like him.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. So Thomas Randolph's first wife was Catherine Thomas, who was only 18 years old when she married the accused killer back in Utah. And she would testify that Randolph was controlling and manipulative and psychologically abusive. And he took out a life insurance policy on her right after they married. Keep that in mind. Now, Randolph and Catherine, they divorce.
Again, I'm gonna stop the video for a second here. Listen, I apologize. I've pronounced a lot of names incorrectly, and I know I always get bagged in the comments for this, but I just try to give context to maybe people that are first watching my podcast. I suffer from a mild form of dyslexia. My brain and my mouth don't align. So my brain is thinking like way ahead when I'm reading. So I apologize. So sometimes I'll stutter on words. I may pronounce someone's name incorrectly or their last name incorrectly because it's the way that I'm seeing the name as well too, and it looks different to me. So I apologize. I know everybody's like, stop apologizing, you're doing fine, but for some reason, people just really bag on me in the comments about that. And they're like, you don't do your research. You don't this and that. I do suffer from some mild dyslexia. So I just had to get that out there, I guess, off my chest. So. But we'll keep playing through here.
He marries a man named Stephen Thomas. And Stephen Thomas testified that Randolph asked him if he would kill someone for $25,000. At one point, Randolph even allegedly threatens the life of Stephen Thomas. Well, Catherine and Stephen, they decide to move away to another state to get away from Mr. Randolph. That's his first wife. Now let's talk about Randolph's second wife, Becky Galt, who in 1986 was found shot to death. Bullet in her head. She was found tucked in the waterbed of her home. And initially, the coroner determined that this was a suicide. But authorities said that the scene really didn't match up to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. On top of the fact that Randolph was set to receive a $500,000 life insurance payout upon her death. Remember when we talked about the insurance? Not to mention the fact that a man named Eric Tarantino came forward. And Eric Tarantino said that Randolph was involved in the drug trade and that Randolph tried to recruit him to kill Becky and make it look like a burglary gone wrong or a drowning or an accidental overdose. And reporting indicated that Randolph had allegedly sung songs. Tarantino said that when he refused to kill Becky and actually told her what Randolph asked him to do, Randolph beat him up. And then when Tarantino came forward to authorities
great
to
panel, wasn't
cooperate in
it?
their investigation, the allegation was that Randolph tried to hire a hitman to kill Tarantino so he wouldn't cooperate. Unfortunately for Mr. Randolph, that hitman was an undercover police officer. So as you can imagine, Randolph is arrested. Now he pleads guilty to witness tampering for trying to hire a hitman. And when Anjanette interviewed Randolph, he had some, how should I say, choice words about Mr. Tarantino. In fact, Randolph said that Tarantino groped his wife and was lying as a government witness, and that Randolph even laid out a revenge plot against Tarantino.
You wanted to have this guy Tarantino killed because he was going to testify in the Utah case. And I mean, what do you say about that?
Just not true. And that's when he groped her, and she told me about it, and I beat his ass. Well, I only hit him once, knocked him right straight out, gave him a couple of stitches, and see, he lies about that. He's delusional. He lies. All I was going to do was plant dope in his car, have somebody plant dope in his car, break the window out, call 911. I will send you copies of Tarantino's statements to Utah and phone calls if you don't need
Danielle, I
those
appreciate
being
it.
taped. And he said, I'm going to,
Those mini movies are a lot of work, like a lot of work. It's a lot of cutting. I'm only like 50% through it, so I'm gonna plan on hitting that hard tomorrow. It's a different creative space that I have to be in. I have to like visualize everything because I'm writing the script and making the movie as I go along. Like I write the script and then I try to get all the visuals together with like what am I gonna do? I might treat you guys or ladies. I always say guys all the time, but I may treat you ladies tonight. I may show how much I have done so far. Do you all want to see it? I have like half of it done. If you all want to see it, type a 1 in the chat and maybe we'll play it at the very end of the stream.
You remember what I told you was going to happen to Randolph because he beat me up? And she says, yeah, you're going to kill him. But that was like 2 years ago. Well, he's still going to die, but the cops are going to do it. It's going to be a murder trial. And if I up, she says, you're lying. You could go to prison. Yeah, I won't go to prison. I'll blow my brains out. He admits to lying. And she says, well, what happens if you get caught? He says, they're not going to do anything to me. They know I'm lying. They told me to lie. They're lying too. The state's lying.
So what happens? Well, Randolph is charged with capital murder for the death of Becky Gall, meaning the death penalty is on the table, and he went to trial. It was an interesting trial. A substance abuse counselor who had been helping Becky said that Randolph told him after Becky died, people like her, quote, will get what's coming to them. At trial, Randolph took the stand. He tried to downplay the life insurance motive. He said he hadn't worked since Becky died. And Randolph's defense tried to show that Becky had a fractured mental state and was suicidal. In the end, it seemed like it worked because the jury acquitted Thomas Randolph of Becky's murder.
She committed suicide.
There we go. Sorry about that.
I could just go on.
Well, I apologize. I have no
Acquitted
idea.
Thomas Randolph of Becky's murder.
She committed suicide.
We got it.
I could just go on with the details. She left a suicide note. The next door neighbor actually heard the shot and called the police and reported it. And I've got an ironclad alibi. I'm 14 miles away on the phone, 14 minutes away on the phone. So this is all the files. This is why I was acquitted in Utah. I didn't do it.
That was wife number 2. From there, Randolph gets married again to Gaina Alman. And she would claim at one point she thought Randolph tried to shoot her when she was cleaning. That marriage doesn't work out, and he ends up marrying his 4th wife, Frances Randolph. Okay, so a man named Glenn Morrison
keeps marrying this guy. Who keeps marrying this guy? 4 wives. And to think, I can't even get married once.
would testify against Thomas Randolph. And he testified that Randolph asked him to kill Frances and make it look like a staged burglary, even asking Morrison to shoot him in the leg to make it look real. Morrison did not go through with this. He said he was actually worried that his life was in danger. He thought that Randolph would kill him if he killed Frances to cover everything up. Now, Frances did end up dying in 2004. She passed away at a hospital after having heart surgery. But that's not the end of the story, because Frances's daughter would claim that Thomas Randolph didn't allow her to see her mother when she was recovering in the hospital room, and that Randolph was the last person with Frances before she died. Frances's daughter would also go on to state that not only did Thomas Randolph make sure to have Frances cremated immediately after her death, meaning no autopsy could be performed, but that Randolph also collected on Frances's life insurance policy, as well as a legal settlement with the hospital. Now, you might say, this seems very, very suspicious, right? Well, Thomas Randolph was never directly implicated or even criminally charged in Frances's death. That's wife number 4. Now let's move on to wife number 5, Leanna Stapleton. It doesn't appear that we know a lot about this relationship that Randolph had with Stapleton, although he allegedly told people she died of cancer.
Lee was remarried twice. I was married to her for maybe 10 months and divorced her within those 10 months, obviously. But I stayed with her for a couple of years because she's a really fun girl. And she had nowhere else to go. But she went back to the same thing, drugs and a few other things. And I left her. I kicked her out. And she remarried twice that I know of. She died of liver cancer.
And then finally, we have Thomas Randolph's 6th wife, Sharon.
6 wives.
Now let's go to May 8th, 2008.
6 wives.
Randolph calls 911 and he says Sharon was shot and killed by an intruder, and he was able to kill this masked assailant himself by shooting him multiple times. That assailant turned out to be a handyman named Michael Miller. Who is Michael Miller? Well, investigators would discover that Thomas Randolph actually became friends with Michael Miller a few months earlier, and they asserted that Randolph hired Miller to kill Sharon. And a big problem for Mr. Randolph was that some of the things he was saying about the night in question weren't adding up. He even did a walkthrough of the crime scene with police.
But he was doing something, going for something down in here. And as we got up in here, he kind of rushed up on me a little bit. And that's when I just pushed him, boom, boom, boom. And he started going out toward the shed. I don't know how many times I shot him, but I just
let's watch
just
that
kept
again.
Right on going,
boom, boom,
down
boom.
in here. And as we got up in here, and he kind of rushed up on me a little bit. And that's when I just pushed him, boom, boom, boom. And he started going out toward the shed. I don't know how many times I shot him, but I just kept right on going, boom, boom, boom.
Whoa.
And he's just laying there.
And investigators also discovered that he had taken out several life insurance policies on Sharon before she died, namely that he could earn over $300,000. You're sensing a theme here, right? Yeah, it also didn't help that Sharon had apparently removed Thomas Randolph as the beneficiary in her will when she found out that he had been cheating on her. So Thomas Randolph is arrested and charged with the killings of both Sharon and Michael. And it took 9 years for this trial to end up happening in 2017. One of the strongest pieces of evidence for the prosecution was that they used evidence from Randolph's Utah trial regarding the death of Becky Galt, his second wife. They used that in this case, and they highlighted similarities in both events. The defense tried to show that Thomas had a good marriage with Sharon and that the material about Becky Galt was nothing more than a red herring put on by prosecutors to distract the jury. Well, after about 9 hours of deliberations, the jury found Thomas Randolph guilty of murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the deaths of Sharon and Michael Miller. After the convictions, prosecutors then tried to persuade the jury to move forward with the death penalty. Much of what I'd previously described about Thomas's life with his past wives had been introduced to the jury. Randolph's defense team pointed out that their client has children, has grandchildren. He works with mentally challenged individuals. But despite their best efforts, Thomas Randolph was sentenced to death. But that is not the end of the story, because now you have to fast forward to 2021 when his conviction was overturned. That's right. The Nevada Supreme Court found that it was an error on the part of the trial court to allow in what is called prior bad act evidence against Thomas Randolph during this 2017 trial. Namely, the trial court shouldn't have allowed in all the evidence regarding the death of Becky Galt. They say it was too prejudicial. The Nevada Supreme Court reasoned that the prosecution only showed the jury that Randolph was deceitful and violent and that he had a propensity to commit crimes.
Yeah, you
So
think?
his conviction is overturned. And now in 2023, he faces his retrial for the murder of Sharon and Michael. He's still in prison today at High Desert State Prison, and we're going to follow this retrial from beginning to end. But you have to think about what the prosecution can do here, because without the ability to introduce this prior evidence, can they secure a conviction again? What evidence will be allowed in about his life? Because it's our understanding that there is a hearing scheduled specifically about this. But talking about hearings, it was just a week or so ago where Thomas Randolph spoke to the judge in court about his health.
I was using toilet paper for bandages because the wound care for 10 days. No wound care. It's just one thing after another. Today, no wheelchair. Today, no medicine. The Greenpeace people's gonna put a contract out on me because I'm killing all these trees. It's file a kite, file a kite. We're not going to go to trial because I'm not gonna be able to make it if they don't get this stuff fixed. It's just ridiculous. I don't know if your clerk can call over and say,
I'll call over to CCDC today.
get your act together because this is ridiculous.
And while all that gets sorted out, when Anjanette Levy spoke with Thomas Randolph, again, keep in mind this was a few years back, he gave us a preview of what to expect at his new trial.
Do you think that the next trial will have a different result?
Oh, absolutely. I'm guaranteeing it now. I'll be acquitted. Now I get to testify, and I don't choke. I just tell the truth.
You're going to testify in this trial? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was there. I'm guaranteeing you an acquittal. I am guaranteeing you I will be acquitted.
Why do you guarantee that?
Because I didn't do anything.
So as we talk about the twists and turns of the Thomas Randolph murder case and story, I want to bring in right now a very special guest. You may have seen her from HLN, Crime Watch Daily, ABC. National correspondent Melissa McCarty is with us. She is the author of The Making of a Crime Reporter and host of the Killing Dad podcast. And Melissa has been following the Randolph case for the last 8 years, so I know we're in good hands. And Melissa's actually going to be our eyes and our ears at that trial for us here on Law and Crime. Melissa, thank you so much for coming here on the Sidebar podcast.
It's my pleasure. And you know what? I've had exclusive access to Randolph for 8 years. So
Yep.
A lot to say.
Oh, I'm sure. We were showing snippets of his interview with my co-host, Anjanette Levy. But my understanding is you've recently spoken with Thomas Randolph. Any insight you can share about what he shared with you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a retrial for him. So he's questioning and concerned about getting a fair trial because of the Supreme Court ruling that basically stated that he did not the first time around. He's nervous. He says everything is on, at stake for him. It's his life. He has claimed to be innocent for 15 years, and he's kept the same narrative in our conversations for an 8-year period as well. And, he's just hoping for a fair trial from his perspective.
The last time we spoke with him, he indicated that he was going to take the stand and felt confident that there's going to be an acquittal. Did he kind of give the same feeling?
He does feel, as do his attorneys, that he will be acquitted. Whether he takes the stand, it will be a decision made mid-trial. He speaks with conviction. It would be an interesting move. The attorneys are open for it. But whether they actually allow him to do it is another story, because what he says on the stand could open up the gateway for other prior bad acts to be entered, which is the reason that he has this new trial.
That's right. And again, the last time we spoke with him, he was talking a lot about how his attorneys were terrible, how it was a corrupt system. In your conversations with him briefly, did he say similar things?
Well, listen, he's had about 17 attorneys throughout this process. He's very happy with his team right now. They're very good at what they do. One is a former prosecutor. One has dealt with many, unprecedented Supreme Court ruling cases. And so, he's very hopeful with the team that he has. He just is obviously nervous because this is it for him. He's also a man that's facing his third murder trial in his lifetime. So he's in a unique position with that in itself.
By the way, before we even get to the trial, my understanding is there's an important hearing that is going to happen. Can you explain to us what that is?
There's one more hearing before the jury selection starts, and that's the Petrocelli hearing. So that is when both sides are going to argue the use of prior bad acts. And that's basically why we're in this situation of the new trial. So they're going to argue what should be allowed in and what should be, withheld. And it comes across from the 2017 trial, where the judge at the time allowed everything from his past. And everything, as we now know, was he was married 6 times and 4 of his wives are dead. There was 2 alleged hitmen that came forward, and they were weaving together this thread that played out very similar to the Las Vegas case. So in 2017, his past was allowed in, including his very first murder trial. He was on trial for murder in the 80s for his second wife, Becky Galt. And the way that played out is he was acquitted and those files were expunged. And so technically, they weren't supposed to use information from that case into the 2017 Las Vegas trial, but they did. And then the Supreme Court later ruled that they shouldn't have, and he didn't get a fair trial. So now this process is playing all over again of what should be allowed in. And
I'm going to repeat myself. Carrie said, I'm going to get your gift card out tomorrow. And I said, I hope you're feeling better because I know you were sick. So I hope you're feeling better.
and what shouldn't. So we now know nothing from the Utah case in the 80s is allowed in, but there's still other storylines like Glenn Morrison, who's going to testify in the Petrocelli this time around. He's still a part of the prior bad acts. He could be allowed in this new trial, which would be really interesting. I mean, the legal aspect to me is interesting. Why are some storylines allowed in and others aren't? You know, why would Glenn Morrison be relevant as an alleged hitman, you know, for this new trial?
It's a good question because my understanding is the Supreme Court of Nevada said that this was highly prejudicial to allow this in. It showed a propensity that he was a violent guy, and the jury basically made a decision on the wrong evidence. But look, I wasn't at that trial, and I'm curious going into this one, if you take all of the prior bad act evidence and you focus strictly on this murder of Sharon, how strong is the prosecution's case that he was the one who killed Sharon and Michael?
You know, the Supreme Court asked the Deputy District Attorney David Stanton that very question. Why didn't you just move forward with the Vegas evidence only? And I think initially when this investigation ignited, when the murder occurred in 2008, I don't feel the district attorney thought there was enough evidence. And so they just shifted, you know, the focus on, well, look at everything we've uncovered. Let's just go with that and make it thick and solid. But, you know, it will be interesting because I don't know that the evidence is strong enough. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start to lessen the charges and take death penalty off the table just for a conviction because the evidence wouldn't be as strong without the prior information of his first murder trial and other bad acts.
If none of that evidence can come in and it's strictly about the murder of Sharon and Michael, do you think there's a possibility that they would drop the charges against him if they feel they don't have enough evidence?
No, I think this is too high profile. I think they're just going to go full steam and just lessen the charges. I think we'll eventually see the death penalty being taken off the table to ensure a conviction, but it's really going to focus on, you know, the walkthrough video and the ski mask. Those are the smoking gun evidences in a sense. So the argument on Monday is heavily focused on this walkthrough video, and it's contradictory in a sense to the forensics.
His defense is that Michael Miller did this and did this on his own, right? And why would Michael Miller have done this?
So Thomas Randolph says that he only planned to burglarize the home, that he knows that Thomas Randolph was out for the night on a date with his wife. He carries a lot of money and possessions. So he believes that Mike Miller, who was his friend in a sense, broke in just to steal some money, some cash, some jewelry, and didn't expect them to come home early from their date night.
I see. And then he caught him and, you know, obviously killed him. When you speak to Thomas Randolph, he's such an interesting character with such a interesting life. What do you get from his personality and how he was involved with so many different women and had such this colorful life, and he was involved in and he was the drug trade. Anjanette Levy interviewed him, and he said that he wanted to plant drugs on Eric Tarantino. I mean, that is quite the claim. And so when you interview him, what's the sense that you get from his personality and who he is in his life?
He's very eccentric. He's smart. He's legally savvy, but he's also a self-proclaimed narcissist. Ladies' man. He thinks he's still got it. Even in his 60s. But he's very much this.
I don't think I
sex,
have it
drugs,
anymore.
and rock and roll guy. He says he's a hippie who grew
I
up.
lost it a long time
And
ago.
he admits, grew up just selling drugs. That he admits to. He admits to cheating on all of his wives, all 6 of them. But he always says, I may have been a bad husband. I may have been a cheater. I may have sold drugs, but I'm not a killer. That's his stance.
Is there anything that would, from your experience following this case, speaking with him, that would lead anyone to believe there's more to this, the deaths of the wives that he hasn't been charged with?
How are you?
In regards to Leona or Francis?
Yes.
I would say no.
Mm-hmm. And look, that's important to say, because it's, everybody can jump to conclusions, but he was acquitted for Becky Galt. It was his conviction was overturned with respect to Sharon. So, we have to be clear.
How are you?
As we move on to this new trial, how similar do you think it's going to be to the first trial? How different is it going to be? I mean, what are you looking out for? There's a lot of attention on this case. We're going to cover it here on Law and Crime. What are you going to be looking out for this retrial?
Who's allowed in to testify and who's not? I think the faces will be very different this time around. I think that a lot of the people we saw in 2017.
Ollie says, did I just open the stream when Brian was looking into the camera, soul and flirting? Well, I was flirting with you. Renee says, Brian, you would make a wonderful husband. A woman, we'd be blessed to have you. Well, if you know any single women that would fit me, send them my way. That's good. It's good to see you're well. We're trying, Ollie. We're trying a different segment tonight. If I don't have Idaho in the title, people don't show up. But this has actually been really fun. I've done kind of a newscast tonight and following, just giving everybody a blast of some different cases around America. But I keep sending everybody over to JJ's stream to check out the TPG updates. And of course, I'll be updating it here too if we hear anything. And I know you'll probably want to jump on with me and talk about it. So I'm in Massachusetts. You can't tell but from my Boston accent. All right, let's get Sarah Boone.
Won't be in the retrial unless it's at a penalty phase. But Glenn Morrison.
Tanya has a boyfriend of like 8 years, so that's not going to happen. She's a great friend, though. I really do truly enjoy hanging out with her on the streams. So it's really really cool stuff. So. Hey, look at this. Ollie says, hey, let's upvote. Let's get to 50. If we do, he's going to gift out 5 memberships. Tell your friends and enemies and frenemies. Thank you, dude. We only need like 5 more upvotes. Look at that. You're going to get a free membership on the on King Ali for a month. You get free access to all the content. And tonight, before we end the stream, everybody needs to hang out. If you hang out, what's going to happen is I'm going to show you a sneak preview of my Gilgo Beach mini episode I'm working on. Hopefully I get it buttoned up by tomorrow, and we'll get that probably previewed, premiering on Sunday. Oh, come on. 2 more upvotes. Let's do this. And then we'll get some free memberships. And if you want a membership, I would say this, start chatting in that chat right now, because that's usually what happens when you start chatting. You'll get more apt to get that membership.
Is what I'm really
All right,
interested
we're at 50,
in. He's testifying for the Petrocelli with his account of this hit for hire. However,
Tanya's a
according to the
great girl.
defense,
Really
he
good.
can't remember the name
I
of
like
the
Tanya.
wife he
Enjoy
was
her a
supposed
lot.
to kill.
She's a nice
He can't
person.
remember dates or years of
The
the
date I
encounter.
went on last week. Yeah, no, that just didn't work out. So, yeah.
There's no evidence or track record of it. His testimony could be very damaging, but will he even be allowed in? But I think just the focus on the walkthrough video, I think it will be allowed in. And I think it's critical. I think the ski mask is critical and how the defense lays that out as this home invasion, heroic
Look at Ollie
husband
coming through.
versus this
That's very
premeditated
generous of
murder
you.
plot.
Ollie said if we get to 55 likes in the next 5 minutes, he'll double the memberships. We're at 53 right now. 53 is a free membership for a month. You get all access to all my membership content, and that's on my homepage. So very, very generous. Ollie's a dude. He's a super great guy. But we're at 53. You just need 2 more upvotes. The clock is ticking. Come on. Just go down there and smash that like
All of
button,
that
and you're gonna
with
get
less evidence this
membership.
time around and less ammunition for the prosecution
You're at
will be
55?
interesting to see what happens and what the outcome will
That's
be.
awesome.
I think there's a good chance
Thank
he
you,
could
Will Love. I
be
appreciate
convicted again. And I also think that there's an equal chance he could be acquitted. He's already served about 15 years.
If he's acquitted, has he indicated to you what he wants to do with his life?
He says go on vacation.
Not get married again?
He believes he'll be acquitted, but he's also skeptical that he'll get a fair trial. His defense team is very confident.
10
but also
memberships
prosecutors, they're very
gifted
good at what
by
they
the king. Appreciate that, dude. Look at all the memberships coming through. Ba-ba-bang, 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 ba-ba-bang. Coming through. Coming through, ladies and germs. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Good stuff. Very generous. The king came through. So Danielle says, Brian, when you meet your future wife in the grocery store, I want that invitation to the wedding. Probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen.
They do, and
I don't
they
think
have
it's ever going to happen.
they have a lot of ammunition, and they're confident as well.
Well, Melissa McCarty, I got to
Thank you,
tell you,
buddy. I
this is
appreciate
quite
you.
the case. I've studied it for the past
Thank you.
week or so,
Very
and
generous.
I was just blown away with what I learned. But as I said, you are going to be our eyes and our ears. We can't wait to hear your reporting from the retrial of Thomas Randolph. Thank you so much.
All right, good stuff there on Thomas Randolph. So I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. I hope everybody, and don't go yet because we're gonna chill a couple more minutes, so don't run out. But I wanted to play actually my little intro video to this segment that I'm going to be doing once a week. If you didn't catch the beginning of the stream, so I'll show you my little video I put together. All right, let's play this really quick. My little intro video. So when we hit the headlines, we can play that now. I thought it'd be cool. This is cool. This was fun. This was a fun night tonight. And we can do this once a week, and I'll get you caught up on some, crimes true crime cases that are not being really highlighted right now. Obviously, we know Idaho is dominating everything. Again, I talked about that. We're not going to solve the crime overnight. But I just want to bring this to awareness. I want everybody, I'm going to take a second here, and I just don't want anybody to chat. Just let me get out what I have to get out. And then I just want everybody to take a moment of silence. I want to raise some awareness to everything that has gone on in Maui. It's tragic what has happened. I think there's been over 100 deaths right now, and there's going to be more, as they're saying. It's devastating. It's going to take a long time for that to recover. And I'm going to get a little bit of political here right now. And I usually don't do this stuff, and it may piss some people off, but it is the truth. And you can look and go on Twitter and look at the tweets yourself. I am currently very upset with Joe Biden, as he tweeted out today that the way that he is going to handle this is that he is going to give a one-time payment to each household that was affected by the fire. This is not me making this up. You can go look at the tweets. He tweeted it out this afternoon. A one-time payment of $700 per household. I find that extremely disgusting, as to the fact of we've given 40 billion, I think that's with a B, billion to Ukraine. So I will digress on that. And listen, it may piss some people off, but I'm pretty upset about it. But let's do this for a second. I'm going to take a moment of silence just to honor the people that were lost in the fire. Okay, so we honor those in Maui this evening. Okay, let's play a little bit of I'll give you a sneak preview since everybody's been super, super cool in this stream. Again, I want to thank everybody that has watched this stream tonight. Some different content here. I'm really excited about it, and I think it's a new kind of series that we can continue doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and play this really quick. But before they do that, I just want to say, I was looking around the streams. I haven't been really paying attention because I've been so busy with work, and I've been busy just working on my channel. But I saw that Detective John has his channel up and running. So congratulations on that. I know he's working out some things over there, but I'm super, super excited to see what kind of true crime content that he's going to have on his channel. So good luck to you, man. I know that you'll get it going over there. And again, I appreciate all of your time that you spent over here on LTL Podcast. And I'm sure down the road, down the road, we will all come together as one community. All right, let's play this Gilgo Beach video for everybody. It's a 3.5 minute. Again, this is probably about halfway through of what I've gotten done so far. I hope you all will enjoy it. Oh, what did I do? Damn it. Welcome back, everyone, to another gripping mini episode of the LTL Podcast. I'm Brian, and today we'll dive into the chilling story that kept an entire community on edge for over a decade. Did he know that his time was up? The shocking case of the Gilgo Beach serial killer has finally been cracked, and the details are absolutely astonishing. The quiet beach town haunted by a gruesome secret where young women's lives were tragically cut short and their bodies discarded along the shores of Gilgo Beach. For up to 16 years, this sinister figure known as Rex Heuermann managed to evade justice, leaving the community baffled and terrified. But what led to his ultimate downfall? Stay tuned and we'll uncover the riveting twists and turns that brought this killer to justice. Over the course of the investigation, authorities discovered a series of shocking internet searches that would raise eyebrows and suspicions. Between March 2022 and June 2023, Rex Heuermann was busy scouring the web for updates on the very investigation that was closing in on him. He obsessively searched for details about his victims, their families, and even the advancements in phone technology being used to crack the case. But here's the twist. All while Rex Heuermann was leading a double life, by day a seemingly ordinary family man and architect in Manhattan, by night an alleged predator who preyed on vulnerable sex workers. The community, the victims' families, and even Heuermann himself left baffled by the lack of progress in this case. He even turned to Google for answers, questioning law enforcement's ability to trace calls and the reason behind the killer's elusive nature. But as they say, every criminal makes a mistake eventually, and for Rex Heuermann, it was a vehicle that would prove to be his undoing. A critical lead came from a pimp's tip about a pickup truck, a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche, that was connected to the disappearances. This revelation set off a chain of events that led investigators to Heuermann's doorstep. But the web of evidence didn't stop there. Burner phones, chilling phone calls to victims' families, and a disturbing trophy collection all pointed to Huerman's guilt. Phone records revealed a haunting connection between Huerman's legitimate cell phone and the burner phones he used. It was a crucial mistake that couldn't escape the watchful eye of law enforcement. And that's it. That's all I got so far. Rising says this is so good. Yeah, I mean it's limited to what I have. I don't have like elaborate editing software. I'm just not quite there yet, but um it's getting there. You know, I have great vision for what I can do for these. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of script writing. It's a lot of visualization of putting everything together, and it's a lot of time consuming of editing. Editing is a lot. So I'm hoping tomorrow they get some couple of hours to really bang out the second half of it. What I all need you to do is when this premieres, please watch it. And thank you. Everybody says this is so good. Thank you. Thank you. Sanami's even loving it. That's great. Thank you. Great presentation. Looks like it's going to be great. Thank you. Because you know, listen, I listen to a lot of thank you. I see all the appreciations there. Thank you so much. I see a lot of these streamers that talk about improving your YouTube channel. I watch this stuff all the time. They say, you know, subscriber count doesn't matter. It does matter because your subscribers are your fans. Those are people that are going to constantly watch your content. And I am the true believer is if you drop a video and it's no reaction from your subscribers to watch that content and push it out deeper into the algorithm, it will never get any reach. That's why I look at something like this. Even though my Jennifer Coffindaffer interview, in my opinion, was great, the problem is that I didn't do it in my normal time slot. We did it at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that live chat wasn't there. I still believe if we would have done that at 8, 9 o'clock at night, there probably would have been 600 people in that room pushing that video. It hasn't performed out of the gate the way I wanted it to, but I know over the long term, it'll sustain. So I'm not too worried about it. On another note, I've been reaching out to other guests. I just haven't gotten any return, and that's all you can do. You can just keep banging out and keep trying to reach out to people and try to get them here. So at some point, you know, we'll start getting some steady guests in here. I know I talked to all of you the other day about wanting to do this full time. It's absolutely what I want to do, but this channel is probably about a year out from that. I really need to see what this is going to do after this gets over the 10,000 subscriber mark and see how this channel is going to get pushed. Because when you start going into different subscriber counts, your channel starts doing bigger things. It gets pushed more. You have a bigger audience that's looking at you. So, you know, we have to see. I'm not quite there yet, but it's my dream to make this happen. So I will keep plugging away as best as I can as what we're doing here. I appreciate if everybody can keep coming to the lives. And of course, when I publish, you know, put out videos, if you can keep interacting on those. I'm really into these mini series videos, and it's going to take me a little while to do them because I want them to get better and I want them to be better. So, let me just pull up this member chat. Doodlebug has expressed using her member chat. Everyone needs to be sure to comment on Brian's videos that he's making. The comments help the algorithm. Absolutely. Any interaction that you give, likes is a big one. Comments is a big one, and watch time. If you can sit through that video all the way through, it's what I need you to do. That is what's going to help this channel. If you only click on it for a minute, it's not going to work. It's not going to help get this channel out. And I know some of these are like, you know, 2-hour streams, watching those replays. I get it. You know, you might not be able to sit through that entire thing. That's why I've been kind of doing short form content. But if I'm dropping a 7-8 minute video, please watch it as long as you can. Get to the end of it. That's what's going to help, because watch time, likes, and comments is the biggest thing on YouTube for pushing your content. Okay, we're close to almost 2 hours. we're going to wrap this up. My mouth is super dry. I'm going to wrap this one up, and I will be back tomorrow night to do some LISC content. And again, I'm going to work on Gilgo Beach tomorrow. It's kind of a labor of love. I've kind of backed off it for a couple of days because I was getting overwhelmed by it. But when that premieres, please come watch it. It's probably going to be on sometime on Sunday, probably in the afternoon. And it would be appreciated if you can come over and do that. Yeah, I'm not a wuss. You drink water. Hey, did JJ stream tonight? Didn't he have some TPG Insider again, Ollie? If you all are interested in TPG, hang on one second. I don't know if you all saw this, but let me do this really quick before I bug out. If you all haven't, I know you are watching the TPG stuff. There's the link. I don't know why this is not working, but here's the link. There's more extended content. You can go to JJ's channel and watch a follow-up. They had Wesley, which was one of the people that were involved in the TPG scandal. He came on and gave us a little bit of a preview of how he was involved. Seemed like a pretty straight up guy to me, and you'll get to see me do have some interview questions over there. So if you want to check that out, you can go over and check that out. Go subscribe if you like watch content, of course. And there's a great bunch of guys over there. They just hang out, talk whiskey watches, and just all things YouTube, some crazy shit over there. But they're going to keep following the TPG stuff as well. Okay, we're at about 2 hours. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. You know how to get in touch with me. Streams are down right now. I understand people are getting ready for like back to school and out on vacations, and it'll start picking back up. Winter months are coming around soon, and I believe the audiences will pick up. Everybody's competing with true crime streams right now, so I get it. It's a lot of drama going on out there. But I appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of my members for coming over here and hanging out. We're going to get this channel to 10,000. Believe me, we're just going to keep fighting tooth and nail, keep fighting through the algorithm, trying to get this channel to get big and get it to blow up. I just need that one video. I had that really one great video, the Gonzalez video, and I may go back and revisit that to do a part 2, maybe on Saturday night, rekindle that and see what that can do to update the channel here. But thank you all for start committing crimes, corn the market. All right, folks, I'm going to head out. Thank you so much for chilling. Like I said, you all know how to get in touch with me. Let's talk live podcast at gmail.com. Or you can follow me on the Twitter sphere, or what is it, X now, at Let's Talk Live YTC. You can DM me through there as well. I just secured the Let's Talk Live Instagram account, which is ltl.podcast. You can go over there and follow that account, ltl.podcast. I don't have any content on it yet. I'm going to probably work on that sometime this week, get a banner up, profile picture, all that fun stuff, and start doing some content over on there too, related to the channel. So yeah, I mean, I've had 600 people lives before. It's just streams are down right now, and it doesn't say Idaho in the title. I don't know why. I don't get it, but it's not going to get solved until trial. Believe me. We're not going to dig anything else up. Cutting over the old one. What do you mean cutting over the old one? I don't know what you mean. Wasn't late, going off from start beginning. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to get out. I'm going to head out. You all know how to get in touch with me through the various contacts if you need to reach out to me. The IG, I think I deleted that a while back, so I started up a new one. So it's I'll put it in the chat, ltl.podcast. I have a bunch of different, I have like personal ones, but my LTL one, why is this not typing? Okay, I promise I'm gonna go. Go enjoy some other streams or get some sleep. I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. I'm still debating on the time, probably like 8 o'clock tomorrow. I'm going to stream. So if you want to watch Long Island serial killer content, come hang out. And then hopefully I'll have Gilgo Beach, my little movie project done for Sunday, and I'll be premiering that. So, and if you haven't, have you seen the Koberger ones that I've done? go over on my main page and check out the Koberger ones if you haven't seen them. Give that some love. I'll show you where they are really quick before I bug out. Over here, bing, right here, True Crime Mini Episodes. Click on them. Go show them some love. I need some love on those videos. Let's keep pounding those out in the algorithm. This one's actually doing a lot better than I thought. It's getting a lot more play, The Final Drive. And then I have Exploring the Shadows. Go check out my little mini episodes. Carrie loves them. Thank you. I appreciate that. And my thumbnails are getting better too. I'm really loving my thumbnails lately. I think I'm doing better. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. All right. Love you folks. Ladies and germs, I'm out. Have a good night.
Two, I'm confident enough that I'm always going to make money in something. If I gave up if I never sold another watch tomorrow, I could start selling paper cups, plastic cups, and I'll do good at it.